For the axle, I'm going to be using black pipe. This is your typical plumbing pipe that is used for gas, running gas lines. I'm going to use 3 feet because I want to be able to get it through my gate once the wheels are on, so I can just roll it from the backyard into the front yard. So let's get started on making this axle. The pipe for the axle has been cut off. Now I'm going to sand it down on my sander and prepare it for the nuts and bolts. What you're seeing now is the end of the pipe cleaned up so that we can take and make the axle part that is going to hold the bicycle axle. This is the bicycle axle removed, and there are the locking nuts that hold the axle and the wheel onto the bike. Now you have to go get 2 more, and what I've done is ground them down so they will fit inside the pipe. One of them I've ground down the entire thing so it'll slip inside. The other one I left with the lip, and now we're going to go on to finishing it up so we can braze it. Placing the prepared nuts onto the axle so that it'll slide in and be ready for brazing is what you do next. Now, this is going to be brought up here. You're going to mark the pipe and drill a 1/4-inch hole through there so that you will have a way of brazing that inner nut so it can't go anywhere. And then this will slide in like this, and it'll be in there like this, see? And that will be where we will do the brazing. So now I'm going to take and drill a hole through the axle, mark it and drill a hole, and then I'll show you what I'm talking about. This is one of the 20-inch wheels that I'm going to use for the front wheel of the Hearse. One of the things that has to be done, and this has to be done to all of the wheels, is to shift the axle all the way over to one side, and then that is going to screw into the axle that we are going to make. With the special wrenches you see here, I've broke loose the lock nut and the bearing race nut, and now I'm going to shift everything over to one side. You have to do this on both sides. Also, if you notice, I'm holding the axle in the vise, and I'm using aluminum soft jaws so that I don't damage the threads on the axle. This is going to be difficult to do with just one hand, so I'm going to explain it. With both of the lock nuts loosened, I'm going to move one all the way over to the end, and then we're going, so I don't lose any bearings, I'm going to move the other one over, and I'll show you when I'm done what it looks like. With the axle shifted all to one side, I've got the axle nut and the race nut tight together, all on the outside, which will be the outside of the wagon wheel. On this side, you can see the axle is all coming out. On this side, this will screw into the axle that we're going to make, and the race nut and the lock nut are jammed up there, so that's the way it's going to be, and it's all on one side now, see? Okay, we're ready to go on to the axle. With the axle shifted over and the nuts are prepped and ready to go into the axle to be brazed, I've screwed them on. Now this is very important because this has to be marked and then the hole drilled in the axle so that we can braze the center support piece in there along with the nut that's going to be on the outside. But we're going to have to mark it this way. The axle with its support nut is stuck inside the axle. Now what we're going to do is pull it out and put it to the top so we can mark it. That's right there. And then with a pencil, I'm going to mark it to the center of that bolt. Now I'm going to be able to drill a hole at that mark, and that's where it's going to be braced on the inside. With the holes drilled in the axle, you can see that going through, the inside bushing support slid in there. It's in there. And then the braze will stick to that, and of course the nut on the outside. Then we're done. Now this is really important because that's your support, and it gives you an extra strength on the axle for the wagon to be held up with. Remember, this is not anything real strong. It's strong enough for what our purpose is, but you can't use it for a real wagon. Okay? All right, so let's take one other thing. We're going to need a second axle, or you can use your existing axle, but you have to take it out of the wheel. If you have a second axle, you can use that, butt it in there, do your soldering, and you're done. Using a second axle or the existing axle, we've got the support nut up there and the regular nut up there, and that goes into here like this, and we're going to be brazing that in there, and it will be ready to be finished. We can go from there. Okay, there it is, finished. I have the axle screwed into the axle assembly, and we will take and pull that nut off, and you'll see it just unscrews. There we go. I'm unscrewing it with a wrench, but that's the way it'll work, and we'll be back in business. We'll build the rest of the axle assembly for the front and the rear, and then you'll see it put on the hearse, and we will be ready to work on the rest of it. Moving right along, I haven't talked much about the rear axle support. If you can weld, I've made this A-frame type thing that is going to go on here like this from metal that I had laying around, and that will support the axle, and the axle is being made out of a 1/2-inch piece of black pipe that is used for gas line. You can also use galvanized. If you can weld, this is cool, but I am going to show you other ways that you can make your support. You can use wood. Wood works very well. You can also use what they call, it's a angle iron. You might have seen it at your hardware store with lots of holes in it, and it can be cut and shaped, and it doesn't require any welding. But this is my preferred way to do it. And again, I'm recycling as much stuff as I can. This was a metal that I got from work, from an old stand, and it makes a great stand. We'll get on with it. These are 1/4-inch by 1.5-inch lag bolts. That's what I'm going to be using to hold the axle supports to the frame. Got to drill a pilot hole first so you don't crack it and they go straight. This is the find of the week. I found this on Craigslist, free stuff. You notice it's like one of the cheapest office chairs ever made on earth. But here's the really cool thing about it. This is what's going to become my front axle assembly. It's steel for number one, where the rollers are, which means I can weld the axle to it. And number two, it's got all steel construction and it swivels 360. It is great. This is the kind of stuff you need to look for to make the front axle assembly out of. Something like this is an absolute jewel. And as we get further into this, you'll see what I'm talking about. Okay, I've tore apart the office chair that I got off of Craigslist, the free list there stuff, And these are the parts we're going to keep. This one is the base that the seat went on. This is the bottom of the chair that went on the floor with the casters, and that is the post. Now the axle will weld to the bottom of that, the bottom part, and that seat where the seat mounted, that's going to have to be modified so that we have a nice straight up 90-degree part. This part right here, this is sitting at an angle. It is a seat. We're going to straighten that, re-weld it, and then we're going to have the seat the way it will be. And then this, as you can see, it's got bolt holes, and that will bolt onto the plywood base that we put down for the front axle assembly. How you doing? It's scary old Pappy again. I'm here to show you how the front axle assembly turned out for the Hearse. The one that I made from the old office chair that I picked up off of free stuff on Craigslist. This is the main parts. As you can see, what I did was with the seat part, this is what bolts to the seat, that the seat cushion bolts to. I took and straightened that by heating it up with a torch and straightening it and bringing this pipe up to a straight 90-degree angle. So that's all set up. This is what used to be the seat support where the 4 casters were. Now if you noticed, I've took and welded on an axle. With this put on together, there it is. I'll turn this around so you can see the axle better. This is going to make up the entire front assembly for the Hearse, and I'll turn it this way and get a nice big wide shot. And as you can see, both the rear axle assembly is up, and now the front axle assembly. I'm going to bolt that on now, and we're going to be ready to finish her up. Well, Halloween fans, this is it. I've got it up on all 4. Yep, and it's almost perfectly level. There it is, assembled, and there's the wheels. We're going to be talking more about why I use bicycle wheels and how that's going to work out and how I'm going to make them look like wagon wheels. But there it is. Isn't she a beaut? So until I get back to you, this is as far as I've gotten so far. And we will get this thing done in no time. I get to start on the fun part now, the sides. Bye. Yep, this is scary old Pappy back with working on the front suspension of this here Hearse. I want to show you what I ended up doing with a piece of PVC. Bent it by using a heat gun to make it round, and a 27 or 26-inch bicycle wheel. And this will give me a round loop that I will attach to the bottom where the 4 crosses are. You'll see when I get it done. Excuse the man cave, it is a little bit on the unkept side. But as you can see, there's a heat gun there, and there's the rim, and I've wrapped it around. I'm almost ready to finish it up, and then it will be cut, assembled, and then I will place it onto the Hearse's front axle assembly, and you'll see what I'm talking about. And what this is supposed to do is to make it look more like a wagon and not just a post sitting down. Because if you go look at horse-drawn Hearses on YouTube, you will see what they look like. And this is actually part of the mechanism that gives the front axle maneuverability so you can turn it to go left or right, that kind of thing. Any of you horse people out there have a wagon or buggy, you know what I'm talking about. Here is the piece of PVC pipe that I heated and wrapped around a 26-inch wheel. And it makes a nice little hoop, and where it's going to go is down here, where these 4 legs from the office chair are, and it's going to make a circle there around it. It's kind of not the way that it's supposed to be on a wagon, but it's going to appear to be, and that's what I'm trying to attempt. Here's how I have it set on there, and as you can see, I've marked it for cutting. It is going to be cut there, and then I will put the two together, and then they will screw onto the legs of this office chair, the X legs, and now become part of the fork assembly of the wagon. It's going to be great. Of course, all that gets painted black. You'll see. Okay, Halloween fans, there is the loop. I still have to put it together and then slip it on to the frame there where I'm going to attach it with screws, but that is it. It is basically done. So to connect these together, what I've done is took a small piece of copper pipe. It happened to be 3/8, but you can use whatever works, and pop rivets, and I'm going to pop rivet that together, and then it's homeward bound. We're done. A few things that I forgot to put in on the assembly of the axle to the suspension, the frame, and that is there's got to be little tabs welded onto the axle and onto the A-frame suspension so you can bolt them together with a nut and bolt. Remember, I designed this thing so you can take it apart and put it away in storage. A little more information on using an office chair for the front axle support and steering system is that some of the legs on the better chairs out there are 5 and even 6-legged. You need to get something that is either 4 or 6-legged so that you can weld the axle to it and it will swivel around there. So keep that in mind when you're looking for that perfect chair to make the steering assembly. Well, if you made it through parts 1 and 2, it's now off to part 3. Enjoy. Thanks for watching.